At AIA Australia, we're making healthy living easier by incentivising your clients with rewards, like discounts on their gym memberships, eligible flights, and insurance premiums with AIA Vitality. It's no wonder that we've reduced client lapse rates by 50% and helped grow client engagement. To find out more, contact your AIA CDM today.
Wentz, thank you everyone for coming. If you've been around for the last 10 minutes while we've been yakking on, trying to work out what we're doing, thank you very much. Today we've got Sue Viskovic. Again, our first return guest.
Am I? Oh my gosh, I'm so privileged.
Yeah, it was very exciting. And we're talking about, what's the topic? Something about business plans and what we're doing in 2017. Sue wrote a blog on LinkedIn about the 4 things that you must do in your business in 2017. So let's get stuck into that. Thanks for coming, Sue.
My absolute pleasure.
So first question, what was the thought process around writing the blog?
Well, you know what? If I'm totally honest, see, we're already just taking all the covers off. When I was on leave over Christmas, I had it in my intention to go, yeah, well, I'll write another article about business planning because the new year's starting. It's like, you know what? I've done that for the last 3 years. Everybody's talking about that. Oh, the year's finished and we're doing a new beginning. And then January kind of came and went, and I went, you know what? It's actually more, hopefully people have heard the message enough now that they are actually planning. It's more now around what are the things that I reckon every business should have on that plan for this year, because we are just, every business is experiencing a lot of the same challenges. And it was actually a bit tricky because usually these articles are hard for me because I can't say every business should do this because, you know, one might be having an issue with staff at the moment. One might be having an issue with, I don't know, exiting practice owners or succession. But I definitely, when I really sat and reflected on it, I think these 4 things are absolutely relevant to everybody. So hopefully it's not too late and they can look at their business plan and go, yeah, actually, I need to have a little bit more think in this particular area.
Awesome. So I had a read of the article, but
Good.
Can you briefly give us an idea of what the 4 things are?
Yeah. So the overarching element of the whole thing is, hey, you know what, you should have a plan. And before I go into the 4 things, I just want to clarify what I mean by the business plan. So I know I bang on about this all the time, and different people have different definitions of a business plan. So I'm not talking I'm not talking about your operational plan where you do a full, who are my competitors, you know, everything from the ground up, like when you're doing a startup. I'm talking about your tactical plan. So for the next 12 months, what are we going to do to achieve what we want in the business? And those that have seen our stuff, we have a 1-pager. We call it an evolution map because it's about going, where is the business at the beginning of the year? What's my starting point? So what's the revenue? What are the qualitative factors? And what do I want to achieve in 12 months' time? How much money do I want to be making? What sort of profit? What do I want to keep my expenses to? How would I want to describe the business in 12 months? And then what are the actions that I need to do, or the strategic directions, as we call them, to get from point A to point B? Documented, single page, which really is just the manifestation of the fact that you've sat down and put some conscious thought and energy around where you want to go in the business. So 4 things. Number 1 is having a real reality check on your relevance. And I know we bandy about the term client value proposition an awful lot, and quite frankly, I'm bored with the term, but it's really, really important. So what is it that you're trying to build as a business, and what are you doing for your clients? Why are they coming to you? What is the outcome? What are the outcomes? What is the value that you're providing to people? And that could be anything from, I'm the person that they turn to when they just don't know what decisions to make. So I'm that voice of reason and that authoritarian person that can help guide them in the right direction. Or I am, and I know you had Sandy on last week, I am the investment guru and I'm going to manage your money better than anybody else can. Or, you know, I am the educator. You know, I know that you're in a place in your life where maybe you're not making some great financial decisions, and I'm here to empower you to move beyond that. That is really so important, more than ever before. I know it's always been relevant, but more than ever before. And this is also about taking a reality check. So really being honest and take all the self-limiting protective mechanisms that you might naturally have, and just taking a really honest look at what you do and how meaningful and valuable you are to people. That was too long on my summary, wasn't it? Number 2 is technology. And we can dig into these. I'll just get them all out there. So technology is pretty straightforward. Don't just fall into the trap of saying, well, we pay so much money on this system and it's the one that everybody uses and I should keep using it. And you know, this audience is probably more evolved than most when it comes to utilising technology. But, you know, if we drop in Zapier, the ability to use really good software systems, have them talking to each other. If you're spending money on a piece of software, make sure that it's doing what you want it to do and that you are driving it, not the other way around. Pricing model, more than ever before. Again, it's always an issue for businesses. And as much as we are an expert in this space, I've yet to meet a business that we can honestly say they've got their pricing right and it will stay right. It is a constantly evolving thing in any business. And of course, at the moment, we now know that you've got, well, 10 months now until the LAF comes in. So part of it is around looking at what you're going to do about pricing risk. But if you have been taking upfronts in your business, we've actually found a lot of advisors that are full scope advisors, and they're shocked to find that if they remove the upfront commission that they get on the risk component, they're actually not going to make any profit on their overall advice component. So now is really important for a lot of businesses to take a good hard look at their pricing and how they're working that. And then the 4th one is take time for yourself, focus on you. Particularly in business, a lot of us just get so caught up in just running it day to day that they forget about self-care, about, you know, being mindful, having time for what the point was in starting a business in the first place. So there's absolutely no sense in having a business that owns you and you don't see your kids at night, or you don't have kids because you don't have time to meet a partner, or whatever it is. You don't get to go fishing or surfing or all the different things that you love, because all of a sudden this great thing that you started to be a business is now owning you and you've got nothing left for anything else. Because unless you've got that time for yourself and that ability to look after yourself, then, you know, the business is not going to fulfill you.
Awesome. So I've got a tricky question. I know you spent a lot of time on this blog and you've really thought about the 4 things, but I'm a busy advisor, busy business owner. I've only got time to really nail down one of those things. What should I prioritize as number 1?
Oh, well, you know what? That's a tough one to answer because it depends on where your business is at now. So I would go through the process to go, when was the last time I looked at my CVP? Am I absolutely convinced that I'm relevant? My clients love me to bits and I have no issue winning clients when I find them. And if you can tick that box, then you move to the next one and go, when was the last time I really assessed the technology that we're using in our business? And you'll know, honestly. I mean, if you spend any time, even if it's a subconscious thought while you're doing something else, you'll know what's been niggling at you about your business and whether it's achieving what you want and whether it will continue to achieve that as the world changes around you. And then you'll be able to determine that. Pricing, you know, pricing's a really interesting one because it's partly around the quant aspects of it, but then there's actually a whole, you know, we talk about the art and science, there's actually a whole mindset around pricing as well. And if you maybe are still challenged by asking for what you're worth or not totally believing in what you're worth, and maybe you want a different profit margin than what you're getting, but you don't think clients would pay, just depends where your head's at as to whether that's something that you want to focus on.
So the answer is really, you don't know. Whichever's the worst in your business.
Yeah. And I can't answer that.
I want to pick out that pricing one, Sue. If I know you deal with a lot of practices with a lot of legacy or legacy setups around pricing and a lot of different styles of businesses.
Yeah.
What would you do if you started a practice today? What would your pricing structure be? How would you do it? Would you take commission?
So it's funny because there's actually 2 different businesses. If I were to start an advice business right now, there's actually 2 different ones that I would start, right? And they're one extreme to the other. So the one is the full relationship model where it's almost like a life coaching side as well as a financial advice side. And if that were the case, I would look at doing a couple of different elements in terms of price points. I would definitely be a flat fee. I would definitely get a scalable investment solution to handle that. So I wouldn't be positioning myself in saying the more money you've got, the more money I'm going to make. It's more around what I can do to help you create more and manifest more in your life. The other side is more of an education piece. So that would be more of a membership site, a really low cost model. Again, it would be a flat monthly recurring amount. The commission model would depend on the two options in terms of which one I would take. If I were to be at the lower contact end, lower relationship end, where it's more one to many, 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 and it's more of a placement service and a facilitation service, as well as, you know, some customized advice, that would probably be, I'd have to run the numbers, but I might even go the level commission model on that, if not the hybrid with an advice fee attached to it, when it would separate out the implementation side from the advice side. If I was going the full relationship model, you know what, I would probably have a crack at going no commissions whatsoever on anything.
Great answer. Love it.
You know, people do get caught up in are commissions right, and everybody has a different view on that. And that's what I've found in working with so many different businesses. It doesn't matter what my view is personally, but it's about what's the business owner wanting to achieve and what's important to them. And then I know all of the different options that they can employ to make that work. The biggest thing is just be honest. You know, don't hold yourself out as saying, oh, I'm going to be holier than thou and I'm going to be completely separate, and then actually I am getting a volume bonus from something somewhere, or yes, I'm actually influenced by this. And so just be true to it.
All right.
So,
awesome.
everyone watching, just if this is your first time watching, you can throw out questions for Sue. She will answer it throughout the time, or at the end we'll make sure we come to audience questions. So your next point in the article, or point number 2, was about technology, having a good hard look at your technology that you use. My question is around how, and I know Patty and myself are big culprits of this, how do we move away from the shiny object syndrome, where we see that new technology and say, this is going to rock my world, it's going to change my life, it's going to totally revolutionize my business, but we spend hours into it, and then by the time we're almost executing on it, we look at the next new thing and we start to implement that next new thing. How do we as business owners move away from that?
Yeah, and that's absolutely a trap, because everyone's talking to you about, oh, there's fintech, and oh, you got to start with the latest, greatest stuff. You don't. It comes down to knowing what is it that I want this thing to do for me. Sometimes you don't even know that you wanted something until this new shiny gadget came out. And you know that I love the term about what a lot of advisors have. And well, actually, I don't think it's just advisors. I think it's entrepreneurs, that you have ADOS. It's like, oh, I've got attention deficit. Oh, shiny. What's over there? And it's not just in technology.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have got it. No, I think it's about saying, we'll identify first what are the gaps in what I'm doing and what's taking me too long, and what am I doing that's costing money for me and my client that is not actually serving my client, and then I want to find a solution to fix that. And then I think being really disciplined, so sure, be open to what other stuff is happening out there and new products being launched and all the rest of it, but when you look at it, take a real cynical view of it and say, okay, what is that going to do for me that I cannot do right now? What benefit is it really going to bring, rather than just being, oh, look at me, I'm so cool, I've got the latest thing. What is it physically going to achieve for me? And if you can't articulate that really well, just don't even start going down the path of exploring it further. If you can, then great, check it out. Don't listen to what it can do, test it to make sure it does do, and it will do that for you before you implement.
What about on the open architecture side of things, on integration and its ability to, that's often how I filter things out, because you can see things that look very similar, and one lets you connect with other things, others, and the other one's a bit more closed.
And you know what, I think just about everybody in financial services has had the specific experience with a big software system that tries to do everything itself and doesn't play well with others, and it's difficult. So yes, I'm a big believer in making sure that it is going to be open. You can have an API talking to other things, and you have your software doing the things that it is really, really good at, and then you plug in the other bits that you need. But also that, I mean, that's just one side of it. So it's still, still comparing what, because all of them have different functions. So saying, is that a function that is going to work for me? Because it might be great for somebody else, but that's not relevant for the purpose that I'm going to use this particular piece for. Hey, there's a great question in the thing. Can I just jump back to that from Dylan? Hi, Dylan. What are we seeing out there for average initial advice fees for aged care advice? So that's great. And thanks for sharing. So Dylan's saying he charges $2.5 to $3.5K, purely hands-off. Advice is what if, scenario and outcome based only. That's a great question that I'm going to have to hold on, because we are about to go live next week with our next pricing advice data gathering. So we have our pricing research that goes out every couple of years. We're about to start the 4th edition. So you will see all the links, and hopefully you guys will all click on it. And we're digging into a bit more about specific aged care advice in that. The last research that we did, it really only got caught up in the limited scope advice, and I don't think that was really specific enough. But I do know, not that this helps, that a lot of advisors are challenged by the aged care pricing model. Of the anecdotal evidence I have of the advisors that I speak to and those that we work with, probably sitting around that, but maybe a little bit more. So the average is probably somewhere between the 3 and 4K. And I've got to tell you, if there's one thing I can say about the aged care advice, if an advisor is looking at it from the background of an asset-based model, and this is not to say that's bad, but it's just where you've come from, your natural instinct is to identify your price point in line with the amount of money that the client has. Whereas, so they might say, oh, well, this client's only got 200K left by the time they go into aged care, where in actual fact that client's got some issues around family, wanting to access more funds from them. They, don't have anyone that they can trust that much. They've got a couple of different options in aged care service providers that will make a massive difference to them. And so therefore spending $4,000 to get that advice and making this decision right, because they're going to do it once and they don't want to be moving aged care homes after they've moved into the first one. They really want to get it right. And so the value in providing those services is significant, and it has very little correlation with the amount of money that that client has. You might say, yes, but I'm going to take $4,000 of their last remaining $200,000. But if they don't get good advice for you, they might lose an awful lot more than that by structuring the wrong way or going to the wrong provider or having dodgy family members that do bad things. So there you go. That's my point on aged care. So April, I will have a lot more hard data around that. So yes. Oh, there's lots of questions coming through.
Awesome. So just sticking on pricing models, do you think it's a good idea to survey your clients about pricing models?
Oh, it's a tricky one, because I always kind of, you know how you often see this research where people say, oh, consumers think they should pay $600 for advice, or that's all they're prepared to pay. I think that's just a lot of garbage, because they don't know what's being offered. If someone said, what would you pay for a car? You'd go, I only want to pay this much. But there's such a variety of what they do and what they'll provide for you and all that sort of stuff. So surveying clients is an interesting one. Everyone's probably always going to say, if it's a price point, they're probably always going to go with the lowest that they possibly can do, because if they want to influence you, then that's great. From a model perspective, yeah, I think that's good. It's great to hear what people think, because sometimes we overthink it, right? You know, we get so involved in commission or asset-based or not, and maybe that's not even important to the clients that you're working with. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. It might be better to do it in conversation though, or phone kind of interviews, because yes or no answers on that kind of stuff from an opinion perspective might be a little bit difficult to draw out really great insights from them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just got Shane Hayes. He's talked about going flat monthly fee from get-go, and I know that's what Phil does. And he's thrown in a bit of the tax deductibility piece. I was at the AFA Gen X session this morning, and I know Mark Bynum specifically mentioned, I guess, that as part of their agenda to get that tax deductibility status for all fees, which would be fantastic.
Yeah.
My answer to the where do you go to, there is some good stuff on the ATO website, which sort of makes it, as long as you word it in a certain way, and it's linked to revenue generation, as long as you can articulate that and be convincing that it's linked to revenue generation is generally the go. I don't know if you got anything to add to that, Sue.
Yeah, look, most of the advice that we tend to get is it depends on the accountant of the client at the end of the day. You can word your invoices as best as possible and your service agreements accordingly. At the end of the day, the liability or the decision comes to the accountant. So yeah, that's a great point. Dylan, accountant said if it's invoiced to the client direct and coined as consulting / wealth coaching and connected to the income making, it's okay, they'll put it through. Yeah, I think go to the ATO. That's the stuff that Mark's talking about. I mean, the sooner we actually get a proper ruling on this and the ambiguity is removed, that's great. Most advisors I find are saying, they position the invoicing on the ongoing component that it's going to be tax deductible. I will make one point to you, Shane, and it's probably something that's relevant for hopefully it's relevant for everybody. You make the point there that you don't want to take the fee from the client super if you can avoid it. You want to have them paying it out of cash flow. Just don't fall into the trap of trying to have a blanket rule for everybody from I guess from an idealistic point of view, and I don't mean that in an offensive way, but it's saying I want them to know that they're paying it and so forth. They're going to know that they're paying for it and you're going to disclose it. I just think take it for the client. So if you're running their cash flows, if you're looking at their financial position and they really don't, they would be better off using that spare cash flow to pay down their non-deductible debt and use the money out of super to pay your fees. Just, don't have a mindset before looking at it on a case-by-case basis, because you might find it's less of an issue than you think.
Well, the other thing you got to be conscious of is the sole purpose test as well.
Yes, that's exactly right. Precisely. Now, I wanted to ask you guys a question. Flip it. So the whole article is based on the premise that people do write a business plan, right? And Phil, you just said to me, I'm too busy to think of 4 things. I only want to think of 1 thing. So, honesty time. Have you guys got a business plan?
So, when we actually come on, we didn't allow you to ask us questions and challenge us. So I don't know, was that a communication issue that allowed
Maybe
you to do?
Jackie had said something, I don't know.
No.
So you so the answer's no.
I am yet to write my business plan for 2017. I have an overarching plan, but to be honest, my number 1 in my business is your point number 4. Don't forget about you. So I run my business to spend time with my family. So I've got 3 girls, and I make sure that I'm working 4 days a week because of that. Because I started my business so I can have a lifestyle business. So that is already ticked off in my business plan. But in terms of all the quantitative stuff, what revenue figures I want to get to, I haven't written that down as yet. And
I noticed some people, I'm putting you guys in the hot seat, but I'm also asking everybody else. So start putting your comments in there, guys. I can't look eye to eye to you, but put your comments. I'm genuinely interested, not just to have a crack at you.
Yeah, my business plan's so dynamic. It hasn't even made its way to paper. It's just continually evolving. So it's
that's a no if I've ever heard a no.
No, I know, so funny. So this is the thing, right? As a person who, he would be a good politician, wouldn't he? As a person who works with businesses all the time, I get it. I know you're busy, you don't want to stop and think about it. And I love Mark's answer here. I hate sitting down to write my business plan, but I get excited when I write it, and then I get depressed when I review it for the first time 12 months later. So it is a discipline, but I've seen the difference that it makes. And you know what it comes down to? Forget about the words business plan. All it comes down to is taking the time to really put some, I'm going to get judgy, mindful awareness on what it is that you're trying to achieve from business. And you're absolutely right, Phil. Your highest outcome is that you want to only work 4 days a week so that you can spend time with the girls. That is awesome. I would then go, and how much money do you want to make from this business? And what else do you want to achieve for your girls or for your family or for yourself, and work backwards from that, and then put some numbers around it, set your intentions at the beginning of the year, and then actually keep yourself accountable to them, because otherwise you'll get 12 months later and go, this is really great. I did spend my 4 days a week working and that was awesome, but I actually didn't achieve some of the other things that I could have done. And it's just stopping and doing it. Oh, thanks, Despina. I like this lady. She said the best thing to do is get a mentor or a business coach. They don't have to be expensive to make you accountable for your business plan. Totes correct. And if I run the stats, so the business health, don't just listen to me with my anecdotal evidence. Business health have got it all the time, although I am quite heartened to see that the numbers have increased. So it used to only be about 28% of advisors. It's now 41% of advisors have a documented business plan. And it has 130% impact on profit margins. So those businesses that do have 130% more. And seeking external advice quarterly, 62% said that they did, of the people that did the business health survey, which was really interesting. I think a lot of them have got a PDM who made them do the survey, but that's okay. 108% impact on the profit for those that seek external coaching or advice.
So you set this up, didn't you, with Despina? You set that up.
No, you know what though? It's a really good point, and it's something that we've changed in our business as well, because for years I've been going, well, it is expensive to have us one-on-one in a business. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but we also know the value that we provide, and so the businesses that pay us the $2,000 a month, they're getting 10 times that at least in the uplift. But we're now introducing more of a lower cost outcome that can say you're still going to get a really good result in the business by having that person that you can speak to and keep you accountable without necessarily, having to go whole hog. But, whether it be a PDM, it is hard to keep yourself accountable because you get busy and you go, oh, I know what the figures are going to tell me, so I don't actually want to look at them, so therefore I'm going to avoid them. But I'm really interested to help people put some attention on this for themselves. I love hearing the reasons why people don't. And usually it is exactly, you say, oh, I'm okay. I'm getting what I want. And then you still get that, oh, maybe I should sit down and take a little bit more time and just plan it out.
Well, Sue, is there anything that you can, if people wanted to go and check something out now and just go, shit, I'm just going to go and write a business plan, would you suggest anything that they go do to kick that off? And
oh my goodness, this is like, we did set this up. Yes, I would suggest something. So we created a piece of software called the Juice Console. And that is actually, it steps people through with video and without a physical coach with them, steps them through the whole process to figure out what it is that's causing them pain in the business and then creating the one-page plan. So yes, they can go and get that from our website. To be honest, at the moment, I'm not very happy with the speed of the software. It doesn't do things as quickly and as fabulously and magically as I want it to. So I was thinking about this, talk about Spirit at the moment. I was thinking about this on the way here. If people are serious about accessing that and they're part of the XYLive community, then send me an email and I'll give them 50% off. Joe's going to kill me. So that's a monthly subscription fee. Retail's $220 a month because there's a lot of stuff in there, and you guys can get it for half if you want. But you have to email me. I haven't set up a big thing because I don't do this very often at all for people on Juice. But yeah, email me and I'll give it to you. Otherwise, you can look at our blog too. We've got some samples of this is what you want to put in the business plan in terms of that one-page template. It's really quite simple. It's nothing, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What are the things you're going to do to get from here to there?
So fantastic plug, Sue, and thank you for your generosity. I'm
impressed by the plug. I didn't even know I was doing it.
Oh, no, I know that. Are you?
And you're plugging your services. I love it. Always a salesperson. It's really good.
Hey.
I think it's good. What you provide the advice community is so valuable. So, selling that is not an issue. Going back to doing business plans, how do you see someone if they're a tight ass advisor and they don't want to pay for a business coach? How do you see the best way to develop your own business plan? Do you see it as spend an hour a day for a week, cutting it out of your calendar and do the business plan, or just block it out for half a day and write it down on the one-pager evolution map? What do you see the best way to do that?
So it would depend on the way that you work. If you are disciplined enough that you've got that hour blocked out and you're going to do it, great. And then it also means that you've spent some time thinking on it. And then when your focus is on something else, something little subliminal might pop up and you'll just jot that down and come back to it. A lot of people, though, do find that they will always find something that will get in the way because they just, I've got a few phone calls to return, or I just haven't finished, proofing that SOA or whatever it is. Again, talking from our experience, if we work with a business, we find shutting down, shutting the door, turning the phone off for a whole day so you can have 100% focus on it is really effective. So doing that with yourself is good. Again, as long as you're disciplined not to then go, oh, I'll just make this one call and all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock and you haven't done it. If you've got a team around you, in fact, while I'm talking, if everybody on, can you just stick a number in the chat box and send it to me just to let me know how many people are in your business, because I don't know if you guys are all just on your own single person or there's 2 of you or there's 10 of you or whatever. 2, 2, 3. Keep going, guys. Just keep going on. So if there is just the one of you, then yeah, the time to sit down, talk out loud to yourself, do whatever you want, or have a partner or someone to help ask you questions. If you've got a team, it's a really good idea to actually get them all together. So you'll know what you want to achieve for the business, but in terms of how to achieve it and the things that you want to fix and improve, there's a lot of value in getting your peeps on board to help you figure that out. And, of course, they're going to be the ones, so we've got a good mix. They're going to be the ones that will actually be implementing the plan as well, so you want them involved in it.
Right. There was a good question. Dylan was sort of talking, it's sort of back to the fee space, about when you give insurance advice and you get the unexpected drag on and extra work that may come out of a client. Do you have any recommendations on how to deal with that, or have you seen any good ways people deal with that extra work that goes in, that effectively, if you don't charge anything, you're losing money on the case?
Yeah, so I think when you're positioning your ongoing service fee, be really clear on what it does and doesn't include. And some of the best ones I've seen is where you set it as being, this is a retainer, these are all the things I'm going to do for this fee. But if we find that something significant happens in your life, then we want to reserve the right to be able to charge for it at that time. And by doing that, it means I'm not going to have to inflate your fee every year just in case something happens. I'm going to be able to keep your fee at a reasonable amount. So then if and when you need a little bit extra, then we'll only charge it for you at that time.
What about Dylan just said for the upfront space?
Oh, okay. So are you talking, sorry, I've missed that one. So are you saying for risk, or are you saying? Yeah,
for risk advice, but when you're doing some upfront, and then it might be a $3,000 case if you're taking commission, and it ends up being a whole lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah. So this is where I think the advice fee is really powerful, to be able to position at the outset to say, look, the advice for my services and the implementation of that advice are 2 separate things. So I charge a fee for providing my advice and suggesting to you how you want to structure it. And if you want us to implement it for you, then we will take the hybrid commission or whatever. And as part of that advice process, do a pre-underwriting questionnaire. You're not always, especially if they're not going to be honest with you, and maybe they don't know about some of the medical issues that they've got, but in 9 times out of 10, that's going to raise some red flags. And so if you find that, yeah, they've got a high BMI or they've got lots of family medical history, you might then position to them to say, look, you need me more than ever. I'm prepared to go into bat for you and find an insurer that's going to give you the best cover that we can, in taking into account these factors of your life. The challenge with that for me as an advisor is that is going to take a fair amount of time. It's incredibly valuable to you and I really want you to get covered, but this might take a bit of work. And then position however you want to do it. So you might go, we will take the commission, but if it takes more than 12 hours or whatever to do the work, then we reserve a right to charge a fee, or we'll let you know when we get to that point, or we're just going to charge you a fee whether you get covered or not, and so you can make that choice. But in order to do that, we're then going to, if you get it, we're going to give you the 25% discount ongoing, which means that you're writing the product on nil commission. Yeah, there's a few options, and you might even just do it on a case-by-case basis. Only roll that out if you do the pre-underwriting questionnaire and there's some scary looking stuff in there. Does that help? I'm saying that there are some.
I Dylan's sort of come back, and you can do as much pre-assessment as possible, but I guess at the same time, as long as you make sure you warn them and say that if there is something that pops up, that's going to be the case. It's sort of in the hours bit as well. That's a good way to position it.
So Dylan's got another question around percentage-based fees. He's got some clients who are that higher end, 1.2 to 2 mil worth of FUM per client, and he's looking at how does he cap his percentage-based fees. So he made a comment saying that if he's looking at capping them, that's a significant drop in their their fees they're charging that client. So he's kind of just asking for any. Have you seen advice businesses do this? How have they gone about it? Yeah.
So I have seen quite a few businesses that have gone down the route of saying we have a retainer. So this is a flat fee for the work that we do, and we're going to apply a small asset-based fee to the fund that we manage. Not because we say we are going to be the gurus, but we do know that there's a bit more risk involved. There's a bit more work involved with higher sums of money, blah, blah, blah. But that percentage amount might be 0.2 or 0.25. And there's no cap on it. So, although then again, I was with an advisor yesterday, and if there's less than $1 million farm, I think they charge 0.25. Anything over $1 million, they charge 0.15. But again, it's uncapped. So the client can see the specific connection to the revenue with the amount of money you're managing. And the irony of it is you could have two clients that have got $3 million portfolios. One's an absolute tight ass and just wants to screw you down on price all the way, and the other one is quite happy to pay for great advice, so they don't care about it. The one thing I would say when you're saying that would take a big hit on revenue if we put a cap on it, a lot of the businesses that we work with, when they work out their pricing model, they don't necessarily go back and cut the fees to their existing clients, because a lot of those clients are the ones that already see value. If they're paying those fees, they're more than happy to continue to do so, and they see value in that relationship. You just want to make damn sure that you're still servicing them really well, so they're not knocking on somebody else's door and you don't know about it. But then it might just be a model for the new clients that you're bringing on board. And it comes back to this planning thing, setting your intention around what is the EBIT that I'm looking for, what is it that I'm trying to achieve out of this business. So then the new business that you're bringing on, you're not having to add more and more staff, or you're not having to cut your price and then chew into your EBIT just because you think you have to do that to win over clients. It's about an intentional planning around what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, in terms of that, you may not have a cap on the physical dollar amount, but you might bring it down to a lower percentage for higher levels of FUM. And yeah, you may not change, significantly the clients that are already working with you. And people then say, but hang on, what if they see that what we're charging new clients? Yes, you have to disclose your pricing model in your FSG, but 9 times out of 10, most of the pricing models, it depends on the client in terms of how they're applied in terms of the physical dollar amount at the end of the day. So, you don't have to necessarily put every iteration of your pricing model in the FSG.
And how many clients are reading the FSGs in detail? Not very many.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Also, what do you reckon, Phil? Are we getting towards? I don't know how much time do we have left, Phil?
Let's keep going with questions. So Mark Rottenstein said, I'm heading towards not providing implementation unless they take up ongoing. Can positioners pay for implementation, get first year's ongoing first, or joining ongoing and the implementation is included? So did that question make sense?
Yeah, I think what he's saying there is just having an ongoing fee that's flat for each year. But the challenge with that is that first year, when you do actually do the implementation, that's a shitload of work that isn't going to be repeated in the second year. The other thing to think about, are you guys using tele-underwriting by the insurers?
I do. Yeah,
I am.
Yep.
Yeah, so always, yeah, because it doesn't necessarily mean that if they do have to go to PMR and it's a big pain in the neck about all the underwriting and chasing all that up, you're not the one actually chasing it up. It's the insurance provider. So that might mean that you don't have as many hours invested in that client before you find that you're not going to get covered, but it also might mean that the likelihood of it getting covered, if the insurer's asking too many questions, the client can't be bothered, then don't understand why they have to do it, they can't be bothered, and then it falls over and it doesn't get implemented. So yeah, that's interesting. So Mark's saying initial, then implementation only. Oh, okay. So you'll only
That's actually what I've recently done, Sue. So I made the call it wasn't correlating. Instead of having an implementation fee, I didn't want to put another fee on the upfront. How about I just keep those fees, but actually ongoing kicks off from the SOA acceptance, and that's how things go. There's no lock-in. If they want to stay as a client, they're staying as a client, and then.
And do you do it that the first year is a higher amount, and then second year onwards drops back a bit?
No. It's just it's kicking off. And I get your point around. Are you setting yourself up to sort of show quite a bit of work up front, and then maybe not so much ongoing? I just take that as a challenge to have the ongoing pretty sound. So.
Yeah, it just depends on, again, if they're a risk-only client or if they're, doing everything.
Well, I guess on my proposition, it tends to be a very, there's a base standard of service that goes in that covers quite a broad range of things. So I'm able to do that from that standpoint.
Sorry, just to interrupt your one-on-one session with Patty. We've got some more questions. Mitch Bradshaw's asked about time-based billing or time-based.
Don't do it.
Don't go near it?
Don't go. Well, no, let me clarify that. Don't do it as your sole pricing model unless you really want to turn yourself into an accountant and like timesheets. Don't do it. You could do it as saying my fee is this much, and it will cover up until a certain point, and it might mean the number of hours, it might mean the number of weeks, because sometimes people just hold up in actually sending forms back to you. A bit hard if it's the doctor holding up, but and then you might say, look, if we do more than that, then we will put you on an hourly rate and we will charge you by the hour over and above that. Or it might be we use an hourly rate to do our claims management process because we only want to charge you what it costs to do it rather than whatever, and we don't know how deep this hole is going to get. But in terms of having it as a full model, this is how I charge, you're just not going to get the leverage that you are able to get in an advice business if you do that, because you will always be linked to the number of hours that you work. And from a client's perspective, you get paid more the more incompetent you are. So that they might not necessarily see that you're going to be as efficient as possible and do such an awesome job because you make more money if you are slow.
I think the accounting industry is a good example of how that's gone. They're all trying to migrate towards a retainer fee. So
yeah, a lot of them are. And, I've worked in a chartered accounting firm, and they do all their timesheets, and then the partners get together at the end of the month and they go, oh, that doesn't sound right. Oh, we can't charge them that. We're going to write off this. And so, well, why bother even taking a timesheet at all? It's just about, anyway.
Yeah, so we're kind of starting to run over, but we're getting questions. People love talking about pricing. So we're going to keep on pushing on for another 5-10 minutes.
Can we go 5? Because I have actually got a client.
5 minutes. All right, no worries.
Sue's actually coming from a client office today. She's
yeah. I didn't want to do this because I know anybody that likes football, but I love my clients here, but they're Dockers fans, and there's an orange wall there, so that's why I'm in front of the blind, because it was going to clash. So I don't want to distract you.
Patty,
That's pricing.
The wall's going to be in the business plan, is it, Sue?
Patty, there's a question for you just about your ongoing service and how that works. You were talking about with your pricing model.
Yeah. So it's two-sided. It's sort of preventing the leaning towards a transaction by some clients that haven't seen the full value of advice yet, and gets them into that into the ongoing advice space. And it also, my ongoing includes all the implementation. So all the paperwork that needs to be done whenever is done so that's just sort of as part of the general ongoing service. So it just syncs in with that.
So that's when you do a review, if there's new advice to be written, if it has to be an ROA or SOA, that's all included.
Yeah, exactly. Or so SOA, if there's something significant, that's how I position it. If there's a significant change that wasn't in the previous SOA, then it's something new that is being added to it.
So when you play with your numbers there, you actually come up with how much are you going to set your fee at, you kind of have to assume that each review is going to have X amount of follow-up work. Some of them will, some of them won't, but you need to build it in there. Otherwise, you're not going to be pricing well.
Yeah, so that's for myself and my business. Like Mark Rottenstein said, I charge an ongoing monthly fee, and I'm looking at how do I just not have any upfront fee. So I still charge an upfront fee that's still quite minimal, but how do I remove that completely and just charge an ongoing fee? And yeah, I've priced it so I understand that every review meeting I'm likely to do some work, whether it is a full ROA or just some financial projections for them. I understand that's the kind of work that's involved with my reviews.
Yeah, great.
So I'll keep you updated with how I'm going, Mark. I'm not brave enough to do that just yet, but I'm looking at how do I do it.
Well, this is a great chance to plug the Facebook page. There's been some great discussion around fees on there. If anyone's joined the Facebook page and hasn't seen that yet, just scroll down and you'll find some examples of fee schedules that Phil and I both shared mine, and as well as some other advisors. And yeah, get amongst it.
That's really good. Yeah, that's a great comment from Mark. Not charging initial advice means you're selling initial advice as a loss leader. Yes and no, you could still be building in the cost of that initial service into your first year's retainer. It doesn't mean that you have to be giving your advice away. It's just about the way that you structure the timing of the fee. And I would say to you too, and I'm guessing you're not doing this, Phil, but I wouldn't be positioning it to a client to say, I'm going to do your advice for free because you're going to be worth more to me. That's kind of the old way of looking at it, saying, well, if I get you as a client, you'll be worth more to me over the long term. It's more around saying, I am structuring my pricing model so that I can smooth that out for your cash flow. But you might need to say it's a minimum 12-month engagement. You can't cancel it within the 12 months because what you're paying for in 10 months' time is the work that I'm going to be doing in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I mean, I tell my clients that my business is worth more as you being a client, so all good. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that at all. I do a minimum of 12 months for my clients, and I do that now, even though I charge them an upfront fee. But I do a rolling advice as well, so I don't just do here's one big super cash flow investments insurance. I try and roll it. So, and I start my ongoing fee from when they sign up. I don't worry until I get all the information, provide an SOA, because I do, a lot of work in the kind of month potentially before I do, provide an SOA. So I might do like an insurance and super just so they're covered and their super's looked after. SOA, and then after they go through the whole underwriting process and want to kill me, then I go and say, all right, now this is the exciting stuff, let's look at more investments or whatever. So that's
that works really well when your beginning part of it is about setting their whole project plan and saying, this is all about you and building the life you want. Articulate that this is the life we want to get you towards. Here's step 1, and once we do step 1, we'll talk about step 2. So yeah, still back the kneecaps to them if they want to leave before 12 months. In reality, what happens if they want to leave before 12 months is up?
For me, they sign an agreement saying that they want to do 12 months.
And have you ever had anyone want to pull out before 12?
No. I've had someone pull out after 12 months, like at month 14, and they wanted to move towards more of a transactional advice model. So it still probably works out to be the same amount of revenue I generate from those clients, but they just wanted to do some financial modeling, and it's an engineer, so he's like full geeks out on Excel spreadsheets that I build for him. So they're more transactional, but it still works. It works for them.
Awesome. Okay.
But also, you've got your client to go see. We don't want to impact that relationship. But,
so I was just trying to type in here to a comment to everyone, and I can't. Oh, yes, I can. There you go. So I've dropped my email address, and that's my personal email address in the chat box there. So if anybody does want to take advantage of that offer, email me.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Take advantage of it, guys.
And me and Patty are talking over each other again. So next week, guys, we've got Mark Nagel, and I will find a link to that webinar. So next week, we've got Mark Nagel, and it's going to be a great session. We are talking about leaving value on the table. So how advisors aren't, showing their clients as much value as possible, and they may not be generating as much revenue as they could be. So it's going to be a great...
Yeah, I would say go for that one for sure. Mark's really great, got lots of value, and they are hitting a killer EBIT in their firm, which he'll probably share with you. So lots of stuff to learn from Mark.
We'll no doubt hit him up about that. So everyone, make sure you join the Facebook group. It's absolutely kicking goals. We've had another 50 people join in the last week, and there's great conversations going on in there. So I put a link in there before, so make sure you join the Facebook group. Thanks again, Sue, for joining us. You're our first return guest. And thank you so much for your generosity in sharing your offers.
No worries at all. Absolute pleasure.
Awesome. Have a fantastic week, everyone. And we'll see you in the Facebook group.
Bye.